Welcome back. Today, a solitary craftsman transforms a stack of raw timber into a reinforced woodland refuge. With the initial groundwork settled, the focus shifts to securing the expanded deck framing. Driving heavy fasteners into the plywood base demands strict dimensional tolerance, ensuring the platform resists the shifting moisture of the forest floor. The perimeter edges receive a heavy, concentrated flame. This charring process does more than alter the appearance. The intense heat changes the cellular structure of the timber itself. It leaves behind a carbonized layer that naturally repels moisture and fungal decay. It is an ancient preservation method deployed exactly where the structure is most vulnerable. A sturdy deck provides more than just a floor. It establishes a perfectly plumb staging ground, guaranteeing that every vertical load bears down evenly. As the upper walls rise, securing the heavy tiers requires a continuous bead of construction adhesive. This compound fills any microscopic gaps between the timbers, eliminating drafts before they can form. It also prevents the stacked lumber from shifting under lateral wind loads. The builder carefully aligns the upper planks, relying on gravity and the tight tolerances of the joints to lock everything into place. Structural integrity relies heavily on these uninterrupted lines. Even a slight deviation at this height would amplify into a major fault at the roofline. Carving an opening directly through a solid log wall is an act of calculated destruction. Plunge cutting with a heavy chainsaw demands exact control to avoid compromising the structural members on either side. Once the rough block is freed, the builder refines the exposed grain with a circular saw and a hand axe. These tools allow for minute adjustments, squaring the rough opening to accept a rigid frame. The heavy wooden border inserted into the gap restores the load-bearing capacity of the severed log. It distributes the overhead weight down around the void, protecting the fragile glass that will eventually fill the space. The transition to the roof structure introduces the greatest physical challenge. Hoisting heavy structural beams overhead requires both balance and precise joinery. A sharp axe is used to fine-tune the intersecting angles of the timber. A flush connection up here is vital, as the peak must withstand significant shear forces from wind and snow accumulation. Down below, expanding white insulation is packed into the remaining wall crevices. Thermal efficiency in a forest cabin relies entirely on breaking the paths of cold air infiltration. Every sealed gap drastically reduces the amount of firewood needed to survive a long winter. The shell is secured. The next phase, the focus moves to weatherproofing the peak. Trimming the protective underlayment flush with the edge guarantees that condensation will drip clear of the wooden fascia. The metal roofing panels are sized using heavy hand shears. Cutting corrugated steel cold preserves the galvanized coating along the edge, whereas a hot, abrasive blade would invite rust. Lifting these unwieldy, sharp panels onto a steep pitch is a precarious process. A sudden gust of wind catching the flat steel could easily pull a worker off balance. Once aligned, the overlapping seams form an impenetrable barrier against heavy rainfall. Careful attention. Wood movement is inevitable as the cabin heats and cools throughout the year. Applying a flexible sealant along these upper joints accommodates that natural expansion, ensuring the building envelope remains airtight. Driving the final fasteners requires hitting the structural purlins blindly beneath the steel. The screws must be driven perfectly straight and hand-tight. Over-torquing them crushes the rubber washers, while driving them at an angle guarantees a roof leak. Every anchor point matters. With the exterior shell secured, the interior finishes begin. Setting the window frames transforms the dark enclosure into a habitable space, bringing natural light into the deep forest shadows. Down on the subfloor, a reflective silver vapor barrier is rolled out before the dark wooden floorboards are laid. This membrane stops ground moisture from migrating upward and helping the finished planks. It also reflects radiant heat back into the living area, The floorboards are locked tightly together, swept clean of debris to prevent any uneven seating. The dark stain grounds the room, creating a striking contrast against the pale light filtering through the trees. What began as a simple stack of timber is now a robust, fully enclosed shelter. Every hand-cut joint and charred board serves a specific purpose in this challenging environment. In the end, the structure and the landscape operate as a unified system. It is a place that quietly produces, protects, and sustains itself.